Welcome back to another special episode of Point Forward Podcast. Myself, Andre Iguodala, my main man, Evan Turner.
Yo, what's up?
We are on a brief hiatus, but we wanted to get you a special episode right now. Joined today by a ridiculously talented individual. Goes by the name of Bret Taylor, Oakland homegrown. His elementary school teacher was Miss Addles, wife of the great Alvin Addles, a Warriors legend as a player and a coach. He is the co-CEO of Salesforce, and Evan and I are being hosted at Dreamforce, which is called the Super Bowl, the NBA Finals, the Grammys, all your biggest events. Dreamforce is that in the tech space. Some 40,000 folks have traveled to San Francisco with the other co-CEO, Marc Benioff, who came up with this idea, is doing some amazing and great things. And just a little bit about yourself so the folks know, not only are you the co-CEO of Salesforce, but also you're co-creator of Google Maps, which we all use. Before that, what we talking about it earlier. We had MapQuest. Also, you were the chief technology officer at Facebook, and now you're on you're chairman of the board for Twitter. So you're very busy these days with some Twitter news. We won't talk about that because we're not allowed. So hope you guys all enjoy this special segment, this special podcast as we're here live. And once again, my main man, Evan Turner,
yes, sir,
is coming with the secret sauce. So let's get things started.
So Bret, first, discuss to us like the importance and scale of Dreamforce. Like, why are we here? How did it come about? Like Andre said earlier, it's kind of similar to All-Star Weekend.
Well, it is. So we have 40,000 people in person here. In San Francisco, as you know, has been going through some pretty hard times since the pandemic. So what's really great about this is it's revitalizing the downtown. Every hotel is full. Every restaurant is packed. Every bar is full. It's great as someone who's born and bred in the Bay Area. It's so great to see just kind of the investment in the city. The reason why so many people are here, though, so there are 17 million people we call trailblazers that have built their careers on Salesforce as a platform. Many of them came from other careers, manicurists, folks who maybe in the Rust Belt of America who lost their jobs, who found a career in technology on Salesforce, and they're here to find clients, to meet with each other. Salesforce is going to produce over 9 million jobs, representing $1.6 trillion in economic impact by 2026. So I like to say Salesforce is not just a company, Salesforce is an economy, and Dreamforce is a center of that. So when we think about what does success at Dreamforce mean, it's not what we sell, it's actually what all the folks you meet. You see all the Trailblazer hoodies around here? Yeah. This is about the Salesforce economy. And you mentioned Marc Benioff. People always ask, why do 40,000 people show up for a tech conference? What, and it's bigger than us. It's actually about supporting jobs. It's about giving back. We just donated another $25 million to San Francisco and Oakland Public Schools on Monday. The concert last night with the Red Hot Chili Peppers, millions of dollars going to UCSF Benioff Children's Hospital. Mm-hmm. So I like to think of Dreamforce, it's like an event. Like you said, it's bigger than just a tech conference. It's actually a community coming together, and it's been 3 years, and it's like you can just feel the energy around here.
Right. So I guess for our listeners who aren't quite well versed in the tech space, and I've gotten some feedback from some of our fans and saying I don't understand this word, I didn't understand that word, and it's it's all a learning experience, and that's what Point Forward represents. So in layman's terms, or how do we not dumb it down, but simplest terms, tell me what Salesforce is and what you do.
It's so funny you ask that because everyone sees Salesforce Tower in San Francisco and they're like, I have no idea what the bleep Salesforce does. I know you have the big buildings. I see your logo everywhere. So first, we're an enterprise software company. Mm-hmm. So what that means is we make software for other companies to use. So that's why you as a consumer don't use it. It's not like, Facebook or WhatsApp or, TikTok. We sell businesses to other companies, and we essentially power their customer experience. So if you go to adidas.com and you buy some shoes, That's our commerce technology enabling that. If you're filing your taxes on TurboTax and you talk to customer support, that customer support software is Salesforce. So we do sales software, customer support software, marketing software, e-commerce software. So you kind of think about if you're a company, especially during the pandemic, all of your customers started working on their phones.
Yeah.
We provide that digital customer experience for you, but we're behind the scenes. We're white label. We don't want to be in front of that. We want these brands like Intuit and Adidas is their brand, not our brand. So that's why you don't know about it. It's kind of, if we do our job right, our customers are making magical customer experiences and we get out of the way. But it's a really big business. We'll do $31 billion in revenue this year. And it's only a 23-year-old company. So you think about technology, the power of it is just the impact, ever since the birth of the internet, the birth of the smartphone, there's this big trend. There's a venture capitalist, I think Andre, Marc Andreessen, wrote this amazing article, Software's Eating the World. And you can kind of see like what we're doing is we're helping every company in the world become a software company. Every company in the world needs to be digital. We're helping them do that. And you're not going to see our logo everywhere, except on our cool buildings. We're just going to be behind the scenes helping every company in the world transform.
And before you ask this question, I kind of want to, I'm going to kind of toss it to you in terms of like what we try to represent for our community. So, we want to make the Bret Taylors of the world, the famous people, or we want you to be the person we aspire to be, coming from our communities, not having access to certain things. And, even like the disconnect with, the business side of our podcast and basketball folks not quite understanding is just making those connections because they're using Salesforce without even knowing it. And so we want to continue to spread that message in this, SaaS software, not the most sexy, it's the investments, but it's the most, economically powerful investments. And I just want our listeners and our youth to start understanding. We were just at the executive
Future Entrepreneurs
Executives for Dreamforce. We just spoke to them. It was amazing.
Unbelievable.
So, from 20 to 24-year-olds, just setting them on a path to where, they have a viable path to reach, the C-suite status. And this is how you get there. And I'm seeing all minorities. And it was just beautiful to see. So, appreciate what you've been able to do and what you're continuing to do, for communities, such as the ones that I've come from. And, hopefully we can collaborate in the future. But I'm sorry, E.T., go ahead.
I was saying with Salesforce, you preach about staying in the back, and Dre said he wants to make you as popular as a D-Wade or Chris Paul. But I want to know, how'd you get here? I know you didn't start at Salesforce, but how were you able to work your way up? Obviously, you had a lot of, great endeavors prior to, but how'd you get on stage right next to as a co-CEO with Marc Benioff?
How far back do you want me to go?
Man, wow us.
Okay. So when I was 16, the day I got my driver's license, I had a 1971 Volkswagen bus. It was awesome.
Well, I like that.
$700. That's how much I bought it for. I drive to the movie theaters with my friends and rear end a parked Cadillac. Don't ask me, I ran into a parked car. That's a whole different story. So I leave a note on the window saying, "I'm sorry, I'll pay for it. Here's my phone number." I get a phone call about a month later. I thought he'd, not gotten away with it. I thought he'd just sort of like, no harm, no foul. Called me up and he said, you left a note in my car. You seem like an honest young man. I own a 76 station. I've had trouble with people stealing from the register. Would you like a job? And I was like, I needed a summer job. Cleaning bathrooms at a gas station doesn't sound that great, but you sort of feel socially obligated, right? I ran into the guy's car. Like, yes, sir. Thank you, sir. I'll take it up. So next door to that, I was earning $4.25 an hour, which was minimum wage at the time. And next door to
California?
Yeah, in California. It's just like, we're civil age. Just things have changed, okay? $4.25 an hour. Anyway, that was before taxes, too. So this was the early days of the internet. There's a thing called Yahoo Directory, which listed every website on the internet. That's how early it was in the internet. And there's a car mechanic, BMW service center next door, and I would be getting on my Dickies and my shirt that had my name embroidered on it in the parking lot every day. And he would be opening up his shop, and it's like, I really want a website, but it's so damned expensive.
Right.
And I said, if I make you a website, how much will you pay me? And he said, I'll give you $400. I was earning $4.25 an hour. And so I went down to a local community college, got on Netscape, which was the browser at the time, taught myself HTML, I don't know how long it took because I'm probably embellishing history at this point, but less than a month, I made this guy's website, got paid $400, quit my job on the spot. I went door to door and made websites for at least 10 or 12 businesses that summer. I earned about $4,000.
Wow.
And I never incorporated the company, so I don't know. Technically, it was my first company.
Right.
And then I ended up in computer science at Stanford. We can talk more about it later, but I had a real mentor there named Marissa Meyer, who ended up becoming the CEO of Yahoo.
Yes.
She hired me into Google, started Google Maps, left to start a social network that turned out not to be that successful, but we innovated. We invented a few things that became really popular.
You invented the like button.
Like button.
Facebook.
Mark Zuckerberg acquired that company, became CTO, and then left to start an enterprise software company. The first call I made was Marc Benioff because I was like, who knows enterprise software?
Right.
Yeah.
No one better than Mark. Ended up here about 6 years ago and didn't expect to be co-CEO right now, but you can kind of think of it this way. I'm Mark's mentee, and we're doing this as partners, and I get to learn from the best and run this 80,000 person company and this incredible community. So that was sort of in a nutshell, but it started with me running into a car in a parking lot.
Now, I think we're going to get deeper into that because we always, some people say I pulled myself up by the bootstrap and they had a little Kickstarter, or some folks saying I'm self-made, and we always say, I don't know, you were born on third base.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And the pitcher threw a wild pitch and you kind of walked home.
Yeah.
But
There's so much luck in this life.
Yeah.
it's a lot of luck, but I'm saying, what you did in terms of taking initiative, got one on the website, you actually went to go figure, you didn't know how to build a website before that. So it wasn't like you already had it. So like that was intriguing to me. Like that's what I really wanted to know. But going towards, being a co-CEO with someone like, Marc Benioff, and you're relatively young. How have you been able to move with a certain type of confidence? Because as athletes, you see co-captains, how do we work together? There's always egos getting in the way. And what I've learned in my, in the venture space, I bring the winning culture to a company. Like that could be my value add in terms of, how can I bring something to a company outside of capital? And I say, I know what a winning culture looks like. And early on, I didn't understand the ego part of it was a big thing. And I didn't think that was in the tech space. I'm like, it's all geniuses. Why do y'all argue and get in each other's way? But to my lack of my knowledge, it's all over the place. So
we're all flawed people, right? We all have egos.
Of course,
Yeah.
right?
But what I want to know from you is, how do you have that balance of, you need your ego sometimes in terms of like, you got to show up to work confident, and then your employees have to see that you're going to lead them on the right path, and then not letting your ego get in your way and trying to become above, the employee. So talk to me kind of about the co-CEO role and you two delegating with one another, and also having confidence, but also being humble.
Well, first, I do think I credit a lot of where I am to luck, but also sponsorship and mentorship.
Mm-hmm.
And I've learned a lot. We talk a lot about equality, and tech is not a beacon of equality. It's not enough to just have mentorship. You need sponsorship. You need to take people on their career and say, I'm going to sponsor you and help you get from point A to point B. Mm-hmm. With the benefit of hindsight, I had that, because when I arrived at Google, my boss was Marissa Meyer. I was 23 years old. And, she saw something in me, and she had the authority, and she gave me the opportunity to create Google Maps. When I got to Facebook, I was 29. And when I became chief technology officer, in many ways, what place does a 29-year-old have to be CTO of Facebook? Mark Zuckerberg was like 27 or 26. Yeah. So like, I was the elder statesman, like we were talking about this on the Warriors. Like,
yes,
it's different. And so I was lucky, in some ways I went to a really young company. At the time, Facebook was primarily for college students. So most people who are older didn't want to work there. They didn't get it. They didn't understand it.
Right.
And so, there was right place, right time. And then I really appreciate how leaders like Marissa and Mark Zuckerberg said, we're going to give this kid a chance. I was very accountable, right? If I screwed up, it was going to be my fault. But to your point, to say I picked myself up by my bootstraps, no, like they picked me up by my bootstraps, and you really have to appreciate that. And so, part of the reason with this co-CEO relationship that it works, because I get a lot, actually, it's funny, there's not a lot of successful co-CEO relationships, right? Like because
it's actually frowned upon.
Yeah, for
what
good reason, right?
Right.
You get
having two
big egos,
basically.
Yeah. 49ers.
I think a little bit of the way it works is like Marc is my mentor, you know, and I'm okay with that. Like I'm not trying to be him.
Right.
I'm not trying to overshadow him and vice versa. And by leaning into the fact that I'm learning from him and him leaning into the fact that he's grooming me and that we make each other better, we amplify each other.
Yep.
And I think the closest analogy, I've started 2 companies with co-founders, and I would say the co-founder relationship is very similar to the co-CEO relationship.
Gotcha.
And it's very much like a marriage. It's not about just the decisions you make, it's how you communicate. And it's not about your compatibility, it's how you grow together. And I think, you know, if you talk to any pastor or priest about a good marriage, people get married because they like each other at that moment in time. That's not going to result in good marriage because you're going to be really different 20, 30 years later. It's all about how you communicate and grow together. So I think actually the reason why Marc and I work is I had practice with my companies that I founded. And also when you talk about ego, Marc built this place. Like I'm grateful. Like I'm a steward of the thing that he created, and I have that humility. And I think that's really an important ingredient to success.
We got a minute, so dive in.
Okay. So when you break it down, when you tally up your life's work and you think about everything that has occurred, and sometimes all the little stuff that might not matter, what was some of the decisions you think you made that was, when you look back, that was really a pivotal fork in the road? Where you're like, this is a micro decision, but it turned out to be something different in retrospect?
So I was at Google in 2007, and I had been there for about 5 years, give or take. And I had made Google Maps. I was kind of hot shit. I'm not allowed to say that in your podcast. You know, like, you know, you have the good resume, right? So, and I could have made a career there. I really wanted to go into the social space. Wikipedia had come out, Yelp had come out, Friendster had come out. Yeah, and I said, I feel like this movement where the internet is not just read only, but like people participate in it is a big movement. I was passionate about it. I and 2 of my friends from Stanford who are also at Google were going to leave to go start this company. And one of my friends bailed. Just, you know, check it out. You know, you have the safe job at the, you know, at Google. And it was basically 1 week before we were going to, in a coordinated way, tell our bosses. So I had this moment with my friend Jim Norris, who was there with me at the time, where we're like, do we still go? You know, and he was a key ingredient. Let's put it that way. Like we were a package deal and you have this picture of yourself walking out the door. It's a big decision, right? To quit your job, have no paycheck. You know, it's a big decision. So all of a sudden it's disrupted and you're like, it was a test of like, how much will do I have to do this? How much confidence do I have in myself? And in particular, it was, for me, it felt personally like, okay, I gotta do this solo. Like I have to like do this by myself. And we decided to do it. And it was interesting because it was a little bit like jumping off the cliff to see if you could fly, because we didn't really know what we were gonna do since he left, but we quit anyway. Because a little bit, you know, once you cut the cord.
Right.
It's like the Jerry Maguire thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like once you do it, you just got to figure it out. And so
absolutely.
a little bit, we didn't change the schedule. We quit and just said, we're going to figure it out. And I'm really grateful that I did, but it's what, a survivor's bias, right? It worked out. So obviously it worked out. But I think it's these moments in life, you just got to bet on yourself a little bit. And especially when you get a setback right on the cusp of doing it, it was really emotional. I think I was like in the fetal position in my living room, you know, like, you know, like, am I being an idiot? Because you have the safety net of a big company, and then all of a sudden you have the accountability of being an entrepreneur. You fail publicly, right? Like there's articles written about it, and you know, and I'm glad I did it.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of
we are too.
right, because that's the sports world. You know what I mean? It's almost like you kind of like you leave to go pro, and then you got to bet on yourself. But if it doesn't work out, then it's got to be written about how you made a bad life decision at age 19, 20. So, you know, I think there are a lot of parallels in sports. The Bay Area is strong in terms of their, you know, the community around the sports. The Giants having a lot of success. The Warriors having success. Obviously, the 49ers historically have had a lot of success. So, you know,
maybe the A's one day.
Yeah. Well, hopefully we get there. You know, they got a movie though. They got a movie out of it.
The money
it's a great movie.
We ruin basketball.
we ruin basketball. So, with that being said, we really appreciate you hosting us. We know you got a lot to go on. You just told us you visited 100 customer CEOs in 90-day span. So if my wife listening, these guys working super hard. So please have some sympathy for me. I'm joking. But
and I think we should finish off the right way with the like.
Yes, sir. Thanks,
go.
Thank you
for
so
coming.
much for having
Take
me.
the time with us, Brett.
And by the way, am I allowed to ask you coming back to the Warriors?
Oh,